Todd Eccles joining us in studio from Patriot. We'll get it. Having a difficult time with some words today. It's got to be the heat. Patriot Defense. Todd, of course, works in the heat and he runs in the heat too. We should point out. So
Well, I try to run early in the morning.
really early in the morning
Exactly.
lately. We're talking firearms. Forrest Anderson is actually at Shaw Shooting this morning. Forrest has an appointment there. Um, actually, I wouldn't mind being with him, but it'll get hot out in Hagerman today
Oh,
too.
it'll get hotter there than it will here.
You sure? Well, usually they've got about I think a 10 degree. If it's 97 here, it could be 107 there.
It's the banana belt over there, man.
Yeah, well, that's why the watermelons grow so large.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Sandy soil and good heat.
we wanted to actually we're going to talk about a couple of things today that we haven't really addressed too much lately. Number one, uh, Forrest mentioned that over at Washington Street Pawn, he has. Speaking of the heat, he's got air conditioning units. I talked last summer to a guy at a store one day, and he said this time of year, when it gets really hot, there is such a run on these things. After the first couple of days, it's difficult to find them. So Forrest has some available if you're looking for one at Washington Street Pawn. But he also mentioned he has bows in right now. And if we have a chance, a little later in the program, we don't talk about archery a whole heck of a lot on the program, but a lot of people who actually like to shoot guns shoot arrows, especially hunters.
Oh yeah, I do. It gets you out in the field earlier, and you can hunt some different units. You can hunt some better units if you like to. If you like to bow hunt, it's a lot of fun.
So we'll touch on that in just a few minutes as well. But Todd, now you had shared with me, and I've since befriended the company on Facebook, but there's a number of people in Idaho who make holsters. And we've talked about this before. People think holster, they think Matt Dillon, he's got the thing strapped around his waist and it's hanging there on his right thigh, and everybody wears a holster like that. But holsters come in every size and shape and from different places. Some people wear them on their ankles, some people wear them around their chest, some people wear them around their waist. There's any number of places to do this.
Right. There's specific holsters for different activities, for different types of guns, for different type of people. I mean, if chances are, if you can come up in your brain with a certain type of holster, chances are it's already being made somewhere. I ordered a new holster yesterday, and it wasn't from one of our Idaho companies. It was a crossbreed. It was through a company called Crossbreed, which is kind of like alien gear, but they have what they call a belly band. And the reason why I got a belly band. I never thought I would, but my little health kick here, I've taken up running, and I can't go out and run with my full size VP9, especially if I'm wearing a pair of gym shorts. There's no belt, there's no support. This is just not going to work. And so I started running down the canyon and doing some trail running. And I noticed there's some cars kind of parked down there. It looks like people might be sleeping in them. I've heard of homeless people and stuff out there. Well, you never know. There could be all kinds of threats. There could be snakes. I mean, whatever. So I'm thinking I need to figure something out. And so I just picked up a while back that Smith and Wesson Shield in 45. It's a little single stack, pretty tiny little gun. So I needed something to a way to carry that firearm. So I got this belly band, and it's a big piece of Velcro, kind of elastic Velcro that goes around your body, and it's got a separate Kydex pocket for it that you can slide the firearm into, and then Velcro it to that strap, and then actually pull the strap over and then Velcro it on the other side of that, so it holds it really firm and in place. So the thought is you don't need a belt to support the weight of that firearm. So I'm excited to get that in. Hopefully it'll come in next week, and if you see me out on the trail and running, I'm probably armed. So give me room.
Yeah, and you bring that up. We were talking last week because after I left the studio, I went over to County West and got issued well, I've got the temporary, which has my temporary photo with my
Mhm.
messy hair.
Right.
My hair always seems to be messy when you do these things. But I got my temporary enhanced carry permit. Now, I had debated since I was going away for a few days to Montana, that allowed me to carry.
Oh yeah.
But I decided I wasn't going to do it. A little story here, though. I got to Helena, where I was staying, and I ran around town and did a couple of things first, and then decided to go find my hotel, which I had booked on one of these internet services without
Hmm.
a lot of other detail. And most of the reviews were okay. There's always going to be somebody who's unhappy. So I got there and I pulled into the parking lot and I noticed there was a gaggle of young people standing around one of the exits. Some of them were smoking and they were visiting, and they all looked to be late teens, early 20s. Now we have to be, people call it profiling, but when I see a bunch of guys in dreadlocks in Helena, Montana, I wonder who these people
It's
are.
called situational awareness.
Right. And then I noticed around the other side of the building, just beyond the main entrance, there was a service entrance, and there was a number of kids, a gaggle of them there. So they were with a group, as it turns out, and probably a group of young people like that. It might even be any organization. They could have been there for a parade. They could have been in a band.
Sure.
And I went inside and I said, "Is it a safe hotel?" And the clerk said, "Across the street is the police station." Sure enough, there it is.
Oh, there you go.
I got my gear together and I got in the elevator, which I thought was dirty. The floors were stained. I'm walking down the second floor hallway to my room, and I see there's a big patch of the wall that doesn't match the rest of the wall, where someone must have kicked in the wall and they've had to repair it. And then I got down to the hallway where my room was located. I looked to my right, and there's a glass door on the first floor, and it was spider webbed.
Alarm bells going off yet?
So, now you're thinking maybe I should have brought something with me just for that peace of mind
Right.
in that particular situation. But we have to make these decisions. And you cited a story not long ago about a friend who was debating maybe I should leave it at home, but he ended up taking it along, and somebody jumped into the car while they were out.
Right. Yeah, no, he thought, I carry this gun every day. I'm gonna every day. It's just a habit to get it and put it on. But he had to run his daughter down the road to a church function or something like that. He's like, I'm only going to be gone like 10 minutes. He just wanted. He had his sweatpants. He was sitting there next to his keys, and he was going to leave it. And all of a sudden, he thought, well, I'll just take it, whatever. So he grabbed his car keys, grabbed his wallet, grabbed his firearm, and he took it. And on the way there, he realized he was almost out of gas. The car was low on fuel, so they swung into a gas station to get fuel. And as he was in there fueling up, his daughter was, I think, sitting in the passenger seat. He was sitting in his car. His back door opened, and someone climbed in with him. And he was so thankful he had his firearm. He obviously was able to get his firearm and kind of took care of the situation. And I don't recall if the law enforcement showed up and apprehended the guy, or if the guy just took off. But he goes, "What would have happened had I not had my firearm with me? I was only going to be gone for 10 minutes, and this happened. I'm so glad I had it." And I got, I wasn't, I felt a little chastised yesterday because I was talking to another friend of mine, and I was telling him, and I was like, I feel kind of silly because I'm going to have this gun while I'm jogging. He goes, "Why?" He goes, "Todd, I listen to your show on the radio, and I read your Facebook posts and stuff." He goes, "You need to listen to your own advice. You never know when you might need it. You never know when you might need it." So he's like, "Get the holster and wear it while you're jogging. If that's what makes you feel most comfortable, do it. Because if something bad happens and you don't have it, you're going to regret it."
And I was coming back on Route 15 the other day, and I don't know if it was north of Dillon or south of Dillon, but I decided to pull off. There was a highway rest stop, and I decided to stop and use the facilities.
Hmm.
It turned out it wasn't a. Some of the bigger rest stops, you feel a lot safer. This was just one little building. There's a highway marker there that says it's the Montana Utah Road, and it mentions Lewis and Clark coming through there, and they named the area after rattlesnakes. So there's rattlesnakes that are indigenous there. And then there's that one little shed that is used for toileting.
Hmm.
And as I stood there, a truck pulled in behind me. And now this is on a wide open area of road, and I thought it's odd that this guy's coming in right now behind me. Well, as it turned out, he had to do the same thing that I did.
Right.
So, I did it was fine. But you're in these situations, and you're in the middle of nowhere. Number one, there's rattlesnakes around. Number two, you don't know who's. And when you're in that little outbuilding, there's no window, so you don't know who's outside or what's going on when you come out.
Yeah, restrooms are rest areas. Let's say rest areas are they're not a it's not a good place. I've had a lot of people take my classes, a lot of women especially that have had bad experience at rest areas, even between here and Boise. But I'd listened to a show this is years ago, and they were talking about it. But if you think about it, rest areas are horrible because if it's late at night or even during the day and you're the only one there and someone else pulls up, you're in there, you don't know what's going on, and there's only one way in and one way out of that place. And so someone could come and trap you in there. They could wait for you to leave. They could jump. You're not going to see them.
Hmm.
It's just, one way in, one way out. And there's not a whole lot of people out there. How many, cars are zipping by, but a lot of times you get behind a building, you can't see what's going on. You get in the restroom area itself, you don't know what's going on. It's kind of a bad situation, really.
Now, people out there are going to claim, some of them that might be listening to this discussion, that I'm judging people who wear dreadlocks. But the fact of the matter is, any grouping of people like that who are hanging around, just milling around a parking lot, is going to catch my attention.
Well, yeah, and you just need to be aware of your surroundings and what's around you. These people happen to have dreadlocks, a big deal. You got groups like I don't even know if I can say it right. Antifa, is it Antifa? I mean, they look like normal people, most of them. I mean, they don't necessarily have dreadlocks. You just got to be aware of what's going on. Maybe something had just happened there. Maybe they were getting ready to go down and kick out the rest of the glass doors and kick holes in the wall. You don't know. I mean, you got to be you were aware of it, so you asked a question when you walked in there. You were aware that they were there, and then you started picking up on the signs as you walked down the hallway. I think you should have taken your firearm.
Probably will the next time in
Yeah.
that situation. And before, but one quick caution here: before you do this, yes, there's a reciprocity map, but laws change periodically and rules
Yes.
change. So before you, if you know you're going out of town, you should likely look up and get some details on what you should actually know beforehand.
Right. You need to call typically not, I won't say every state has an attorney general's office, but that's not always where you need to go. But if you go to the attorney general's website, they'll redirect you and they'll let you know what's reciprocal and what's not. If you're in Idaho, and you're going to travel to some other states, you can go to the Idaho State Police website, open it up, and on the home page on the front, up on the upper right hand corner, there's an icon that says concealed weapons. Click on it and it'll open up another page and it'll tell you all the states that recognize the basic permit and all the states that recognize the enhanced permit as well. And it gives you the dates that they've recognized them every year. I think every year or every couple of years they send out letters and they have to get the letters back to just to make sure they still recognize everything. And so that's all listed out right there. It's a really easy, quick place to go.
And the other thing I was reading about over the last few days, a lot of people were out over the holiday weekend, and throughout the western states, right here in Idaho too, there were a number of wild animal encounters, bears especially. So once again, your situational awareness and your threats are not necessarily. I had a caller yesterday telling me about seeing scat along one of the trails over at Yellowstone,
Hmm.
and that's a clear indication that you might have company there, and it might be brown and furry.
Yeah.
But even the littler black ones can be furry black bear can be as nasty. People have to be ready for those situations too.
Well, exactly. I mean, in a few weeks, I'm going to take my old international scout and meet a couple other guys, and we're gonna head on out to Jarbidge. We're gonna go out to through the desert, the back way into Jarbidge, and just kind of go on a little trek for the day. And I guarantee you, I'm going to be armed. I'm going to have a firearm, if not a couple, with me. Maybe I find a place I want to pull over and shoot. I'll have one there for protection, whatever. If I leave my house, I have a firearm. You never know what you're going to find, especially out in the desert, out in the woods.
The desert, at least you can see it coming.
Well,
General, unless it's on the ground crawling.
Yeah, you can. I lived in Oregon for quite a while. Well, I grew up in Oregon and I finished out high school here, and actually I moved back for it was almost a year. And their firearms laws are a little different, but just this is just for an example. You'd be out going through the coastal range, and all of a sudden you come across some look like a blackberry patch, but it had climbed. This blackberry patch had climbed up over these little trailers, and the door had opened, and people were there. Okay, and they weren't always friendly, or you come across a marijuana grow or something like that. You need to be prepared at all times.
We've got more coming up with Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense, and he'll share his contact information and upcoming courses in just a few minutes. We're at, can you believe it? We're at 78 already. It's 20 minutes after, yet Todd can believe
I'm melting.
it. 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense joins us in studio on Fridays. We talk firearms. It's 9:23. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310. KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We're at 77. We just dropped a degree. I don't think it'll stay there,
Yay.
but we all felt it. Caller, we've got a caller with us. In fact, number is 7360300, 7360300. And caller, you're up next. You're on the air on Top Story. Go ahead.
Hi, Todd. Todd,
Hello.
what do you think of the revolver that shoots 410 shotgun shells and also 45 caliber bullets?
I've shot one of those and they're fun to shoot. As far as for self defense, there's I'm not a big fan of the 410 load for self defense. If you got one and you want to carry that for self defense, throw a 45 in there. 45 caliber in there. I've seen a lot of videos where people are using that exact gun. That's like the judge, Taurus judge, I believe is the one you're talking about. They'll take them out and you'll see these self whatever videos, and they'll shoot at a guy with the 410, and it just ticks them off. Is all it does. So if you're going to carry, they're great guns. I mean, they'd be a great snake gun. They'd be a great little varmint gun if you're hiking. Fantastic. But you know what? In my mind, if you're going to use it for self defense, load it with the 45. I think it's a like 45 long Colt or something like that. But yeah, carry it with the 45. That's what I'd do.
And I want to thank him for the call. Probably against some of the larger animals, against maybe a charging moose or a grizzly or even a black bear. A rifle is still probably the best means of bringing uh, bringing them to a stop.
Well, yeah, or just a big size, nice size handgun. Rifle's always going to be the best, but if you're in a up close and personal situation with one and it's on you before you know it, you're not going to be able to get a rifle obviously up and get a shot. So a handgun, any handgun is better than none. But for a bear or something like that, a larger caliber, that's something that's going to penetrate. That's the key with the bears is getting the penetration. That'll be always be better.
There was a long distance runner from Kenya, and he's training in Maine. And I heard about it this morning on the news feed. He encountered two black bear, and he outraced them to an abandoned house and locked himself on the screen porch. But he points out, he said most people wouldn't be able to move quite as fast as he does.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure he moves a lot faster than me.
Todd Eccles is in studio with us, and he's the founder of Patriot Defense. We're at 77. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We're at 926. Courses. We're into July now. You've got some courses coming up.
Yeah, I got one on July 29th. It's the enhanced concealed carry permit class. I do have room in that class still. You can get a hold of me. You can call me. You can text me at area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I got plenty of room in that class. We still have about a month to get signed up for it. So get on the list. We'll get you. Call me up. We'll get you on the list, and we'll save your spot. Um, you know, we're shooting outside. It'll be a little warm. Bring some sunscreen and some water, but it won't be too bad. It'll be a good way to end July and then kick off the harvest and fair month. Get it now before you get into harvest. That's what I'm saying.
And it was interesting the day I was there for the course. I think it was only 75. It was just
Oh, I
beautiful.
haven't had a really hot day there yet.
We got out in the afternoon, and I didn't even put on sunscreen, but we didn't get out after the coursework, classroom work, until later in the afternoon,
Right.
so I didn't end up burning.
I do have an easy up, a pretty good size easy up, and I think I can go get another one if I need. And we won't necessarily, if it's hot out, I'll have those up there, obviously, and we won't necessarily be shooting from under those. But when you're not shooting, you'll have somewhere shady to kind of stay. But I tell everyone, bring water, and sunscreen. A hat is good, shield that sun from your eyes, maybe from the back of your neck. So I guarantee I'm slathered up in sunscreen when I go out there because I'm about albino and I'll look like a lobster in about half an hour. So,
Now, the one thing we want to point out too for people who they listen on the radio, but you have supplements because you have your own studio, and if they go online, there's a great deal more depth you go into on a lot of these subjects.
oh yeah, if you go, you find my Facebook page under Patriot Defense, and I do lots of postings, there about different things, different articles about my classes. You can go to um, my website. Man, I know people use websites, but it seems like people use Facebook more than anything now. I forget about my website. You can go to my website. It's patriotdefense13.com. You go in there and it talks about my different courses, my different classes, tells about me, tells about those classes. I probably need to update a little bit. I got some videos on there. I need to pay more attention to that website. And now that I'm talking about it on the air, guess what I'm doing tonight? I'm going to go home and I'm going to update this website. But yeah, you can learn all about stuff there. You can get a hold of me through Facebook through my phone number I just gave you. That's area code 620-794-6223. I will answer any questions you have. I have experience. I know people that know things that if I don't, I can go and ask them. I can help you out, help you with holsters, help you with whatever you need. I love answering questions. I love helping people.
I was going to say, for people who take the course, once they get through that, then they can start thinking about those advanced courses.
Yep.
I mean, we can reiterate that if you have some advanced training, if you ever end up likely in a civil court
hmm
versus, let's say, a criminal court, but maybe in both, that advanced training is only going to help you bolster your defense.
Well, yeah, it's always good to know more. Education is key. You could say that you've mastered your skills, or you're working on mastering your skills, and this wasn't something you just thought of right then and there. You're just going to draw out your gun and shoot at someone. Speaking of upcoming courses, you're help keeping me on track today, Bill. I appreciate that. July 15th, I have what we call my Handguns 101 class. It's on a Saturday. We're going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's only going to be about 4 hours long. I have one spot open. I had one person back out, so scheduling conflict. One spot open. Now, for this class, the only requirement is you've had to have your enhanced concealed carry permit. You have to be able to present that. I don't necessarily have to be the one that has given you that permit, but you have to already have that permit. Call me up. Area code 620-794-6223. Area code 620-794-6223. I can get you on the list. That's coming up quick.
We've got more with Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense on the way on KLIX. We wanted to mention before we move along too much further today that Forrest Anderson is actually at Shaw Shooting today. He's teaching a course there. So Forrest is away. He is, of course, the proprietor of Washington Street Pawn. And he wanted me to mention two things. Number one, he's got AC units available, which this week will not be a tough sell.
My unit in my house is not working, so maybe I'll swing on by there.
A lot of the smaller window units, even if you've got central, sometimes the smaller window unit, because different family members, somebody else might want it cooler in their room than another. So those things come in handy. Number two, he has bows available. And if we have a chance before we wrap up the program today, we'll talk a little bit about bow safety as well. In the meantime, telephone caller joining us. You're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Todd Eccles and Bill Colley. And did I give the telephone number out? Some days I just don't remember.
I don't know.
736-0300. Doesn't hurt to repeat it. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. Please do not laugh at me. But my question is, I'm not going to be shooting 30 feet or 40 feet or anything like that. I'm going to be shooting between 5 and 10 feet. I am deathly afraid of having a gun in my house. Would a flare gun be an effective device for protection against animals and against humans? I'll listen to you on there. Thank you.
A flare gun. Well, okay. If it's I always anything can be used as a weapon, but there's always going to be your drawbacks. A flare gun obviously was not meant to be used as a self-defense weapon. Okay, it's used for signaling. If you're outside, you're in the woods, and you try to use it against an animal, you could set the place on fire. Okay, and if you miss, and once that flare goes out, the animal may come back. I mean, I don't know. I've never used one as self-defense against an animal, so I'm not sure. But I could see nothing but drawbacks. If it's at night and you're outside, or if you're in your house, the same thing, and it's dark, you could hurt someone if it hit them. I'm sure of that. But you're probably going to blind you. It's going to blind them. You may burn your house down. I mean, there's pros and cons with everything. With a firearm, you're deathly afraid of firearms. I understand that. I've had a lot of people come and take my class. I encourage you to reconsider. Maybe take some time, go out with someone who's very knowledgeable with firearms, whether it be me or even someone else, and just work with you a little bit, or maybe explore some kind of other options. A flare gun, I don't know, probably not the best choice in my mind. And it's still launching a projectile. So the difference between that and actual handgun, there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference. You're still harming someone possibly. So I would just go straight up with a firearm. It's going to be the same idea, and it's going to be the better tool for the job. And don't think that calling here we'd ever make fun of you or laugh at you, because that everyone's got to start somewhere. And the only bad question is the one not asked. So.
And I want to thank you for the question. And I had a thought about that too. Now, especially in the case of a wild animal, sometimes just noise or a bright light will frighten them away.
It could.
So firing it in the air, which is the common use, might just do that, because the action of it itself will probably frighten away an animal. And number two, could even frighten away a potential intruder, because the one thing they don't like are sounds, anything that calls attention, especially at night, to where they happen to be. If you do that, a little bit of light might just be all you need to get rid of someone in that situation.
It could be. I've never used a flare gun, but I'm imagining they're probably like a single shot type of action as well. So if for some reason the first one doesn't work, you better know how to reload that thing awful quick. I still, maybe it's just me talking, but I still would prefer to see someone with a firearm, even if it's something as small as a 22. I mean, 22 long rifle, a good PMR 30 or something like that. You're better off using a tool. I hear a lot of people tell me that, well, my wife just carries a can of wasp spray. with her, and that's what she uses. And I've heard of people using that before. And does anyone want to get sprayed in the face with wasp spray? No, but it's still not that effective of a tool. If you got to carry a spray of some kind, get a good pepper spray or defensive self defense spray. If you read on the back of those any type of pesticides, I know we're getting off topic here, but like on the can of wasp spray, it's typically against federal law to use it for anything other than its unintended purpose.
We have a caller. Got about a minute before the break. Caller, we'll get you on the air. You're up next. Go ahead.
Todd, I am shocked that you said that you're using the Shield 45 when you hate 40s and everything else. I'm surprised it's not a 9.
I don't like
And
I don't like 40s.
and hiking and running, I would think an LCR 9 would be the best because it's small, compact, and light.
It is, but maybe it is. But I'm going for the it's what I have, and I'm also going for the fact that if I've got to go little, I might as well go big. This was a gun that I got. I got a really good deal on it when I took the Smith & Wesson Armors class, and so I picked it up. I just said I want a 45, and everyone kind of looked at me, and I was like, I'm never going to carry a little gun. I'm never going to carry a single stack, so I might as well just have a fun gun to play with. I actually kind of like that little thing, so. I don't know. Maybe I'm turning the turning the other cheek on 45s. Like I said, I still don't like 40s. I'd never have a 40, but 45 is okay.
Want to thank you for the call. It's 9:40. We're at 78. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense in studio with us. Bill Colley as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. More firearms discussion on the way, and as well, if we can squeeze it in, talk a little bit about bows because we mentioned Forrest has some available at Washington Street Pawn along with air conditioning units. Joining us in studio, Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense. We're at 9:42. It's 78. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And want to thank our last caller. Telephone number if you've got a comment or question for us before the end of the program today, 736-0300. Next week, we're doing the show on the road. We're going to be at Don Aslet's Cleaning Center, which is, I believe, at the corner of Washington and Filer.
Yeah.
And so we'll be doing the show there. And before we actually have any discussions about firearms, we're going to be joined as well for a few minutes in the 8 o'clock hour by Twin Falls Mayor Sean Berriger. And we're going to talk about how Twin Falls is open for business. This is a boom town when it comes to, I think, any definition. So we'll talk a little bit about that next Friday when we're there, as well as say hello to our friend Don Chandler and some of the other people in the building. Todd, we were talking about bows a bit earlier because Forrest has some on sale right now over at for our Washington Street Pawn. And we don't spend a lot of time talking about bow safety, I guess, because the focus is definitely firearms. But I remember taking a safety course for archery when I was in high school, and a lot of it is very, very similar as far as the approach.
Well, yeah, and you obviously you got an arrow, okay? You got field tips, you got broadheads. It doesn't matter what your tip is on that, but you never want to point that bow and that arrow at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. With bows, it's a little different. You don't ever want to dry fire a bow. You don't have the proper arrow in there because you could shatter it by releasing it. So, I mean, when you're shooting, you want to have a good backstop. Do you want to shoot it in your backyard in town? Probably not. A good compound bow, they've got a lot of energy. They could zip right between, they could zip through a fence. They could zip right between, two fence laths and go into your neighbor's yard. You want to be completely safe with it and have a good backstop. So just be safe. Know what you're doing. Now's the time of year to get a bow. You go down to see Forest and pick up a bow. Do some bow hunting. Hunt season's coming up. I know I have a bow and I bought 2 more last year. In fact, funny story. I got one for my daughter. She likes to hunt. She wanted a bow hunt, so I got it for her. And then I bought it early. And then between that time I bought it and time her birthday came around, she ended up tearing the ligament or tendon or something in her hand, and now she's in a cast up past her elbow, and she had a bunch of pins put in. So on her birthday, I handed her her bow and said, "Happy birthday! I guess you get to use it next year." So, but no, bow hunting is a lot of fun. You get a lot closer to the animals. There's a lot of people out bow hunting, but it's more personal, if that makes any sense. You're not trying to shoot something that's 200 yards away or 100 yards away. You might be sitting in a blind, or you're trying to stalk an animal, which is a lot more challenging. A lot more up and close. It's just a great thing.
And I trained on in this training course. It was a version of an old English longbow, and it was fiberglass, unlike what they had 800 years ago,
Right.
which was an incredible advance in archery when it first came along. But what we're talking about today, there are so many changes made in bows. In many cases, is like actually operating a firearm.
I mean, it is. You can draw a bow back and you can use your fingers to release to release the bowstring. They actually have now what they call releases, and I've had them out for a while. But it's actually a trigger. It's set up like it doesn't look like a handgun, but it's got a trigger like a firearm. You lock it onto the string, pull it back, and obviously you want to keep your finger off that trigger till you're ready to fire that thing, because it doesn't take much of a bump, and you're going to release that arrow, and it's gonna go.
It's not necessarily the same speed you'd get though with a bullet or a shot.
No, but I mean, it's been a long time since I've looked up speeds of bows, but the newer bows are faster and faster. I mean, I think some of them out to 300 FPS, if not more than that. I'm probably misspoken. I'm sure they're faster than that now, but they come out of there pretty quick, and they will do some damage. I've shot a deer with one and had it go clean through the deer. Shot an antelope and had it go clean through the antelope. So they come out of there pretty quick, especially with a good broadhead on, and when it hits, it's going to do some damage.
We have a caller with us. And caller, it's 946, and you're on the air on KLIX. Go ahead.
Good morning. Reference bows. What's the comparison between a crossbow and a regular longbow? Is the crossbow legal for hunting in Idaho? And at the same time, would that be a self-defense weapon? Thank you.
As far as is it legal for hunting in Idaho, you're gonna have to. I'm not gonna answer that. I don't know for sure. You're gonna have to either call Fish and Game or get on their website or get a good set of regs and find out. I mean, it may be, it may not be. I'm not sure the stipulations on
I
the
know it varies in
crossbow.
some states. Some states where I lived in the past
Yeah,
have regulations that very much it was outlawed. But
right. So yeah, I'm not gonna answer one way or the other. Fish and Game all mad at us. And someone's gonna go do something and say, "Well, Todd said," and I'm not gonna say. As far as self defense. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could possibly use it for self-defense. I'm sure you can. Like I said, you could use it almost anything can be a weapon. Okay, and that is a weapon. I think you're better off with a firearm. Okay, I'm always going to go with a firearm. You got this big, bulky crossbow. You're loading it with a little bolt, and it's a good round out of a handgun. A good hollow point round is made to go into somebody and open up and stay in them and create lots of damage. Where an arrow is going to hurt someone, well, yeah, but it may just zip right through them as well, and you don't want that.
and talking a little bit about bows, once you're talking about even if it's just a hobby, it's an expensive hobby,
It can be. Yeah.
and so
They all can be.
sometimes you have to pick between firearms or bows.
But,
Some people, and I may be one of them. That's what I'm saying.
well, yeah, if you got a wife that watches your spending like mine does, yeah, you got to pick a few hobbies and stick with them, because she's like, I started getting interested in something. I started getting interested in these old scouts. She's like, "Oh, you need another hobby." And then I started getting interested in like bow hunting. Yeah, yeah, you really need to do that. So we just go down the line. All my hobbies, I'm either all in or all out. So when I get a hobby, I spend a lot of money. But yeah, bow hunting can be pretty spendy. I mean, you can go easy, go and spend six, seven, $800 on a bow, and that may or may not be just a bow. And then you got all the goodies to put on it, the sights, the rest, new bowstring if you want, all and those things, $100, $60, $80 a pop. Then you got your arrows, and you buy your arrows, might be $100, might be $80, and then you got the broadheads, and then you got to get the arrows cut down to fit you, and there's just all kinds of stuff.
And I was going to say you got to outfit yourself too.
Well, yeah, and good camouflage, and you need a quiver, and I'm just it's a whole nother deal in itself. I haven't bow hunted for quite a while. I did I won't say draw, but you have to put in for it. I did get an unlimited archery antelope tag this year, so I'm looking forward to going out and doing that. And I'm gonna have to go buy blind. I'm gonna have to go buy probably some decoys. It's all gonna add up. So yeah, it's all gonna add up. Whatever you decide to do.
And I want to point out, if the caller has some additional questions next Thursday, Kelton Hatch is scheduled in studio with us from Idaho Fish and Game. So there's a great source.
Another thing, I'm bringing this up. I just kind of glanced at it before. It just came through this morning that I saw. But there's some new law or some new regulation that they're trying to put through, or they're having a vote on for the Fish and Game, which is going to outlaw. And I didn't read the thing, delve right into it, but you may ask Kelton Hatch when he comes in. They're talking about maybe uh, outlawing the use of GPS, of game cameras, of stuff, and even cell phones, two-way radios, that kind of stuff in the state of Idaho while you were hunting. So I don't know the details, but it's something you may, if you're a hunter and that upsets you, you may look into it, get educated on it, because if it comes to a vote, we need to make our voices heard and whether or not we want this to happen.
I know a dozen years ago there was a fellow in Texas who had literally opened up a preserve, and what you could do is you could hunt via internet,
Right.
and so people could log on, and you could just punch a button or a key, fire a shot, and the Democrats who control New York State, I interviewed one of them. They were trying to bar people in their own state. How they would know if you're on the internet? I guess they're spying, but they were trying to bar their own people in their own state from participating in this because. And the only argument that the assembly person could give me in the interview was, "Well, it's not very sporting."
Right. I
That should be my decision, but
it should be your decision. I do agree with it's not very sporting, but I guess if a guy's got a farm and he can, like that, a ranch, it's fenced in and he can make money doing it. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what kind of joy or pride you take in the fact of you're searching this animal out on the internet and then hitting the key, and that's not fun. That's not, to me, that's not hunting. But I guess if that's what you want to do and you can live with yourself, then go ahead and do it. But the government, obviously, I don't think they should tell me yes or no on that matter.
we're at 80 degrees and it's 9:51. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense joining us in studio this morning. Bill Colley as well on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio 1310.com. Forrest is away today. He is actually participating, teaching a course at Shaw Shooting out in Hagerman, where it's already likely 90. We're at 81. We just jumped up another degree. I wanted to point out when you reference you've got this advanced course coming up. You
Hmm.
mentioned people have to bring an enhanced permit.
Yeah, they got well. Yeah, typically your permit should be with you all the time anyhow if you have one. I'm just going to want to see it, and that is because we have 4 hours for this class, and we're going to go over safety. We always touch on safety, but I don't want to have to actually show someone. Okay, here's how you rack the slide on your gun. Here's how you load your magazine. We need to have gotten past that point to learning, how to draw your firearm and fine tuning a lot of your shooting skills, how to draw your firearm, how to move and draw, how to shoot, be more accurate when you're shooting, that kind of thing. Work on your trigger squeeze. That's what we're going to be after. Not, I just can't take a lot of time saying, here's how you load your magazine. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. That's why they need to have taken enhanced class. Allows me to know that they should have learned all that stuff.
Well, you bring this up because you mentioned how do you draw. All of these, we can all point a firearm at a target and
Right.
squeeze the trigger. But there's a lot of other things involved in this, especially if you're ever going to be in a pressure situation
Yeah.
that are wise to know. And
Well, and there's a lot of dynamics to it. There's certain stages of the draw. You need to be able to draw, and you need to be able to keep your hand, but your weak hand out of the way. You need to not flag yourself with the gun or point the gun at yourself when you're drawing. There's a proper way to do it, where to put your finger, how to get it out right away, so you maximize the time you're looking at the sights and putting it on target. Just a nice, smooth presentation, and then from there, I'm sure we'll probably touch on a little bit, but it might be another class, but we'll probably touch on how to draw from concealment. So how to move your cover garment, your T-shirt out of the way, that kind of thing. How you're going to do that, because there's a proper way to do that so you don't hurt yourself.
well, you and I both favor in the wintertime hooded
Oh
sweatshirts.
yeah.
And so a hooded sweatshirt is nice and thick. It keeps you warm on a cool day. But there you go. I mean, that's even a bigger challenge to draw than if you've got just the T-shirt
Uh-huh. There,
over the.
and there's two or three different ways to do that, to jerk that cover garment out of your way, and you need to practice it because you never know how you're going to be carrying, winter, summer, whatever. I saw a guy on a Facebook. He put up a video of himself drawing, and he reached down, grabbed his gun, went to draw his gun, and his T-shirt's all tangled up in his gun. He didn't get his T-shirt clear of the gun. And then when you go ahead and reholstering should be easy, but you need to make sure that T-shirt is out of the way. So as you reholster, that doesn't get caught in the trigger and go bang when you're seating your gun. Just stuff you need to think of, stuff you need to think about. So if I get that belly band, I'm going to have to relearn how to draw that way too. There's different ways of drawing. There's different ways of drawing from your ankle, your waist, a belly band, a shoulder holster. There's just all different ways and you got to think about it and you got to train for them. It's just not going to just come naturally.
And it's not like the movies when you put that away, when you put it back in the holster, the old movie hero spinning it.
Yeah,
You want to
no.
talk about a dangerous move?
Yeah, we don't want to be we don't want to be doing that at all.
Things you saw as a kid when you were watching, Wild Bill Hickok or
Yeah.
some of these other TV programs and movies, not wise.
And if you're like me, you need all kinds of practices. I can barely walk without tripping over something. I got to develop the muscle memory, you see, and get that gun in and out of that holster properly. So
We wanted to point out we got about 2 minutes to go. We're going to run down again 2 courses coming up, then advanced, and then just the regular enhanced carry permit class.
yeah, I got my enhanced permit class on July 29th. You can call me, text me at area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I've got one opening for my July 15th class. It's on a Saturday. We're going to start at 8 a.m. And it's going to be 4 hours long. It's Handguns 101 or Advanced Handguns, whatever you want to call it. And I've got one opening. Now, you have to have your concealed carry permit, so your enhanced concealed carry permit. So I know that you know basic gun safety and how to do all the basics. But if you want that, get a hold of me. We can get you on the list. And other than that, like the caller said, pointed out, I am going to be carrying a 45. So it is what it is. You guys can call and give me a hard time about that as well if you like.
We did want to point out, too, as well, that you have some sort of celebration going on today.
Yeah, I'm a year older today. So yeah, it's my birthday today, July 7th. I was actually, I'll give the date. I was born 7/7/76, and I will be 41 today.
My mother was a July baby. She was born on the 31st. My grandmother's birthday was August 1st. And there was an old joke in the family that one of the farmhands kept telling my grandmother, I'll take you out and celebrate on August 1st. He came in August 1st to work, and he came in to see the new baby, and he looked at my grandmother and said, well, I guess we aren't going anywhere today.
Exactly, exactly. So no, I think we're doing a little family celebration on Sunday. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to be done after this, but I got to go back to my day job. It sounds like, and I have to work tomorrow morning at my day job. Not the job I like
I was
necessarily.
going to say the weather, though, is going to be very nice. There's not going to be much rain.
No, we're heading to the hills on Sunday for a little while, so I'm looking forward to getting up there early, nice cool weather, and I may wake up tomorrow morning and go for a nice run. That'll be how I celebrate my birthday. How's that sound?
I'm going to sleep late.
I'll pick you up, Bill. I'll be by your house at about 5:30.
Want to thank Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense for joining us this morning, and we'll also see Forrest back most likely next week too from Washington Street Pawn, coming up on 9:58. And I do want to point out on Monday's show, Randy Staples joins us just after 8:40, and Michelle Stennett, she is the leader of the House, or rather the Senate Democrats in Idaho. She's going to be joining us.
And I'm accepting birthday gifts. I like 9mm caliber, and now I like 45 caliber. And if you give me a 40, I'm just going to sell it and buy what I want anyway.
No 40s because he's not 40 any longer.
That's 41. That's right.
God willing, if the creek don't rise, I'll be back here Monday morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com.